All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM in St. Catharines, Ontario. That gets the signal right across Ontario, the northern tiers of New York and Pennsylvania. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. My first guest tonight, X Zone Nation, is a very special guest who brings a unique perspective to the world of the paranormal. Joining us is Nicole Strickland, an accomplished author and paranormal investigator with a deep connection to the legendary RMS Queen Mary. Known for its rich history and haunted reputation, the Queen Mary has captivated ghost hunters and history enthusiasts alike. Nicole has dedicated years to exploring and documenting the eerie tales that people have experienced associated with this iconic vessel. Tonight we'll be sharing her insights on the supernatural occurrences aboard the Queen Mary, her personal experiences, and what ignited her passion for the paranormal. So get ready for an intriguing journey into the mysterious world of RMS Queen Mary with Nicole Strickland. And Nicole, welcome back to the X Zone. Great having you with us again.
Thank you so much for having me back on. It's a pleasure. It's always great talking with you.
Hey, Nicole, can you tell us about your journey into the world of the paranormal and the investigations, and what drew you to this field?
It's a kind of a long story. It started in childhood for me, and it was just one of those things. I was always interested in ghosts, haunting specifically, and even history as well. So I had experiences as far back as I can remember, 4 or 5 years old, and so that interest stayed with me growing up. And I would read anything I could on the paranormal, watch any sort of TV shows on it. And then I had a very profound experience when I was at the University of Arizona undergraduate college with the spirit of my grandmother. And so it's a long story. I'm going to try to paraphrase it. But the night before she transitioned, I should say, she called me. We had a wonderful conversation. The next day, I get a call from my mom, of course, her daughter, saying that she had passed early in the morning. And so I took the next flight out to San Diego, where my family is from, to spend some time with them. My grandmother never wanted a funeral. We just had a kind of a private viewing, just spent some time with the family. So then when I went back to Tucson, Arizona, where the U of A is based, I started having experiences in my apartment that I couldn't explain prior. Initially, I chalked it up to just me being in an apartment, upstairs unit. But then there were a series of events. It started with doorknobs moving and rattling by themselves that I couldn't explain. And then a couple of nights later, it started where I was on my bed actually doing schoolwork. I felt a disembodied hand caress my face. It felt as if it came from someone I knew and loved. That's when I started to ask myself, could this be Helen Lopinto, my grandmother, communicating with me? Again, I wasn't sure because I'm in an apartment. lo and behold, all of this happened within about a week time span. A few days after that, again on my bed, I think I was writing a paper, if I remember, out of my left peripheral vision, I saw something, and when I looked over where my closet was, I saw my grandmother, full-bodied apparition. She looked about 10 years younger. She smiled at me, didn't say anything. She was wearing one of her favorite blue and white dresses that she owned, and it looked as though there was a spotlight shining against her back, which gave this halo effect around her. The whole experience lasted maybe about 2 seconds, and then I saw her fade before my eyes. And so initially I thought that I just felt something weird next to my, sorry, I just felt something weird next to my head. I don't know if that was my air conditioner or what, I don't know. But anyways, initially I thought that maybe I was projecting these experiences because I was very close to my grandmother, very, very close to her. And so I think as I've pondered it and just with my experience in the paranormal, I really do think that she visited me. None of my family, other family members experienced this. It was just me to my knowledge. So that's actually what really catapulted me into active investigation and research of the unknown. So since that time, that's what I've been doing, and it's just been an amazing journey. Lots of things to learn.
And so many questions still unanswered. Nicole,
Absolutely.
how did you become involved with the RMS Queen Mary, and what was your initial impression of the ship?
Oh goodness, this is interesting. So my mom actually went on board before I did. This was about the year 2000, and she went on board in the Veranda Grill, and she did ballroom dancing. So I knew about the ship, but I had obviously never been to the ship. And so it was the year, it was actually that same year later on, during spring break, one of my friends and I came back out from Tucson out here to attend a 3-day carnival cruise. There's the Carnival Cruise Port right next to the Queen Mary there. So we went on a 3-day cruise, and so that was my first introduction of seeing the ship just from the back seat of a car. And I remember when I initially glanced at her, it was just a compelling sense I had. I have to go there. I have to visit it. So lo and behold, about 5 years later in 2005, that's when I first actually stepped aboard the Queen Mary on A deck, which is one of her hotel decks. And it's hard to put this in words. I try to in my books about the ship, but it was an immediate, almost soul connection. Very familiar when I stepped aboard. I felt as though I've been there before. Everything about it looked familiar. And so just since that time, I've really been heavy into researching the history, just everything I can about the Queen Mary. And then of course with her paranormal activity, of course that's a bonus as well. So I've, over the years, for almost about 20 years now, I've been researching her history as well as her paranormal activity. And it's weird how that played out. I never would have planned this or imagined it. It just played out, and here we are today.
You know, the Queen Mary is famous for its haunted reputation. Can you
Oh,
share
yes.
some of the most compelling ghost stories or encounters that you yourself have experienced there?
Absolutely. The Queen Mary is one of those very well-known sites for paranormal activity. And of course, there are various theories that we can ascribe to that. You know, her history being so multi-layered and rich, that right there is a huge foundation for her paranormal activity. I have had so many personal experiences on board in various areas of the ship over the years, as well as captured evidence, specifically audio and some photos. But for me, it's very visual, so I will have a lot of personal sightings or of even shadow figures, full-bodied apparitions, even partially manifested apparitions. We're talking former crew, former passengers, World War II veteran sightings, and then it's very audio friendly. So a lot of people will be on board and they'll hear disembodied vocalizations, sometimes conversations in various languages. So for me as an investigator, I really pay attention a lot to the audio methodology, so EVP, experimentation, things of that nature. But I have had so many types of experiences on board in various areas of the Queen Mary, and I would say a lot of her resident energies, if you will, are intelligent, but yet you have some of the residual type of phenomena as well.
Now, the voices and the apparitions that you see and hear and experience, are these people who actually passed away on the ship, or are these people who, for some reason or other, have decided that this is where they want to spend eternity?
This is a fantastic question, and of course, only the Queen Mary really knows the answer to that. But I will say that there are documented deaths of both crew and passengers. So sometimes when we've had certain captures, it may be hard to tell whether or not that's actually a resident spirit that's been aboard for many years or someone just passing through. I will say that for some reason, and this is just my opinion, the Queen Mary, and this may sound a little weird to some people, and I get it, I really do, but for some reason, I do feel that the Queen Mary herself is a very sentient sort of vessel. She seems to be very intelligent. She can communicate with people. So I think that in a way, the ship itself is almost one gigantic channeler and spirit, if you will, and then you have her human energies as well, even animals as well. Even phantom cats have been seen and heard on board. So I think that there's a interplay between those. Very strong, very consistent types of energy. There are some documented, like I said, passenger and crew members, obviously, I think, that are there in resident spirit form. One is a young man, just out of respect for him and his family. I'm not going to say his name.
Understood.
But yeah, he was a 18-year-old young man who hailed from Yorkshire, Skipton, North Yorkshire, and he actually joined the Queen Mary in March of 1966 as a fireman and bilge cleaner. He tragically passed away in the aft engine room on July 10th, 1966. I have seen him both, full-bodied apparition as well as, in my opinion, having captured both disembodied vocalizations as well as EVP of him as well. And then, of course, one of the other beloved energies on board is a little girl by the name of Jackie, 6 or 7 years old. We don't know her origins. The late psychic investigator Peter James, who is sadly no longer with us, he felt that maybe she drowned in the second class pool, which was stripped in the Long Beach conversion. So either way, Jackie is very intelligent, most often heard or seen in the former first and third class pool, but I've encountered her everywhere. But again, she's not really a documented passenger per se. We don't know her origins. So those two are more or less talked about just because of the experiences that people have with them. There are other crew members. William Eric Stark was a senior second officer who sadly, he had a cold and he actually drank carbon tetrachloride instead of gin, mistaking it, then obviously got really sick and passed away. People have heard him as well. I myself have heard him on board. So just a combination. But I think the Queen Mary, it's almost like she's a beacon. So I do think that a lot of people come through.
Nicole, we've got to take a break. Please stand by.
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you, and I love the work that you do.
Oh, thank you.
Exo Nation will be back with my very special guest, a good friend of the Exo, Nicole Strickland. Her website, www.NicoleDStrickland.com. This is the Exo, and I'm Rob McConnell. Nicole and I return on the other side of this brief break as we continue here in the Exxon from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines on the Exxon Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJAM, here in St. Catharines, streaming us on classic1220.ca. And welcome back. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're talking to Nicole Strickland this hour, and we're focusing in on the RMS Queen Mary. And I must tell you, X Zone Nation, that Nicole has done, oh my gosh, sincerely, really, really interesting, in-depth investigations. She's written a number of books, including Field Guide to Southern California Hauntings, San Diego's Most Haunted, Spirits of Rancho Buena Vista Adobe, The Afterlife Chronicles, exploring the connection between life, death, and beyond, Woman on the Fringe, Groundbreaking Women in the Paranormal, with Marie D. Jones, who we've also had on the show a number of times, The Haunted Queen of the Seas, The Living Legend of RMS Queen Mary, Spirited Queen Mary, Her Haunted Legend, RMS Queen Mary, Voices from Her Voyages, and you can find out more about our guest this hour simply by going to NicoleDStrickland.com. Nicole, what do we know about the history of the Queen Mary, when it was made, where it was made, and any major accidents or catastrophes that we know about?
Oh my gosh, do we have like 6 hours? No, I'm just kidding.
Just for
So,
you,
yeah,
I'll make it 7. How's that?
right? I know. The Queen Mary has the most unprecedented historical tapestry of any ship, in my opinion. So, of course, she has Scotland roots, and so her design concepts actually began around 1926, and this was at a time when different countries were competing for who could have the biggest, most grandest ship. And so Cunard actually decided at that time, let's build 2 grand express liners. Royal Mail Steamship, that's what RMS stands for. So 2 Grand Express liners going from Southampton to New York City, weekly voyages via Cherbourg. And so her design concepts began in 1926 and started around, well, I was going to say that when they started to build her, the Depression hit. So that's actually what halted her building a little bit. So she was, I think, slated to commence or actually begin sailing, or launch, I should say, in May of 1932, and that wasn't until September 26, 1934. Of course, her maiden voyage, May 27, 1936. So, of course, built in Scotland, a part of Cunard's very reputable list of vessels. So very, very iconic history. She actually carried some of the most well-known passengers. You're talking actors, actresses, members of the aristocracy, business moguls, you name it, students, just an intense, a very rich history there. And then, of course, at the outbreak of World War II, because of her size and speed, that's when she was requisitioned for World War II service as a troop ship. She also actually at one point, or at various points, carried German and Italian prisoners of war. She became a hospital ship at one point, repatriated servicemen at the end, carried war brides, you name it. It's so hard to condense the history when doing these sorts of shows because it's only an hour long.
Sure.
But there were, throughout her career, both in peacetime and in wartime, various accidents, some what I would deem near death. I know I'm in a way personifying the ship, but near death disasters. Perhaps the most famous occurred in her World War II days. And so she had a World War I escort ship known as the HMS Curacao. And so during the war, she had to actually sail in these zigzag motions to try to avoid these German U-boats because Hitler had a bounty on her. You know, any German U-boat captain that could actually sink the Queen Mary would get $250,000 and the Iron Cross with oak leaves award. Obviously, that never happened. So it was actually October 2nd, 1942, just off the coast of Scotland, I believe, around 2:10 p.m. What happened is the compass was off by about a couple of degrees. So both Captain Boutwood of the Curacao and Commodore Illingworth of the Queen Mary, because of that, there was some confusion. So they kept separating from each other. So what ended up happening is the Queen Mary rammed, hit the HMS Curacao, sliced it in half, and over 300 of its sailors perished either by drowning,
Oh my gosh.
being burned, or even tragically being sucked underneath and dismembered by the Queen Mary's propellers. So because of strict Navy orders, the Queen Mary couldn't stop. She'd be a sitting duck. So all her crew could do was throw out life preservers to a lot of these men who were still alive. And so I have actually, I think, 2 or 3 eyewitness accounts in my book, RMS Queen Mary, Voices from Her Voyages, that detail this. So disasters like that, she obviously had some damage around her bow that was fixed. That could have been extremely catastrophic, but just coming into other sorts of near-death incidents, there are a lot to mention, but the Queen Mary, for whatever reason, and I don't know if we really know why, just she prevails. She's like the Energizer Bunny. She just keeps going and going and going. So I almost feel like there's some sort of protection that almost like her destiny was to outwit and outlast, and that's exactly what she's done. And even in retirement, when she came in Long Beach in 1967, to this day, she's going strong. She's in the black. She's doing very well economically, and it's fabulous to see that.
Today, is she seaworthy?
No.
No way.
No, she's actually forever moored in Long Beach. Yeah, her boilers, and in her aft engine room, you can see some of the original machinery. But yeah, no, she's not seaworthy. She'll never sail again.
Earlier, you were saying that you felt as if the ship actually communicates with you. And I was wondering, why is it some people like yourself have the ability to communicate with those on the other side, as well as objects like the Queen Mary, and other people, they just get nothing.
That is a question that I've asked myself for so many years. I don't even know if we can really definitively answer that. I'm of the belief that humans, even animals, of course, even more so with animals, I think, and cats, dogs, horses, I think that humans, we all have the ability to channel and to tap into our innate intuition. But is it that some people are more open to it? Are they more practiced at it? I think being exposed to the paranormal, I know for myself, it's been innate, but just working in the field, those skills just naturally develop. So I think that could play into it. But some people just, I think, are just a little bit more open to it. It's almost like a sport. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. And, with the Queen Mary, it's interesting. I'm not the first person to say this. June Allen, she's a beloved war bride. She sailed on the Queen Mary along with the first wave of war brides in 1946. A good friend of mine, she puts it like this. She says, the ship can sense those that can tap into her. And she puts it as the ship chooses people, chooses those that can really tap into her soul, so to speak. So I'm not the first person to say this about the sentience of the Queen Mary. There are many people, even one of her beloved captains, Captain John Treasure Jones, who actually brought the Queen Mary in Long Beach. In December of 1967, he said the Queen Mary is as close to a human being of any ship I've ever commanded. So it's interesting.
It certainly is. What specific areas of the ship are mostly known as the areas of the paranormal activity that so many people like yourself have experienced? You've told us about the second-class swimming pool area with this little girl, but in your opinion, where are the most haunted and active parts of the Queen Mary?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think the entire ship itself is fair game,
Wow.
meaning that you can be pretty much anywhere and have an experience. I think over the years, especially with the tours, because a lot of the tours go to certain places, that people obviously have more reports and documented encounters and experiences in certain places. Those would be the former first and third class pool, which is actually the heart of the ship. The top portion, of course, on our deck there. You might be thinking, wait, first and third class? So what happened is when air travel became very prominent, I think in the early 50s it was, when a lot of the affluent actually stopped sailing on ships and started flying, they actually opened up the first class pool to the third class passengers because the third class didn't have a pool. So that's how it got the name of that. So the former first and third class pool, very, very active. Jackie is seen and heard in there. There's shadow figures that you'll see with your naked eye. There's a sighting of World War II or a Italian POW without legs that has been seen in there.
Wow.
Sightings of people jumping into the pool. I've even captured audio of people swimming in the pool. So you'll hear the sloshing of the water, and the water's been drained out of the pool. So again, maybe like a residual
Yeah.
phenomenon. Boiler rooms, aft engine room, lots of encounters in there. Sightings of crew members, engine workers, captains, even, you name it. Let's see, a lot of the public rooms as well, and the hotel decks, believe it or not. Now, when the ship was sailing during peacetime, there were other areas of the ship where there were hotel rooms and not hotel rooms, but cabins and suites. But when the ship came in Long Beach, they pretty much made M deck, A deck, and B deck pretty much for her hotel passengers. Of course, there's public rooms on those decks as well, but M, A, and B serve as the hotel decks. And so a lot of people will have experiences there, knockings on their stateroom entrance door, water issues, people, the feeling of people sitting or laying on your bed,
Wow.
footsteps, you name it. So, but I would say that the old isolation ward replica, aft B deck is another area. So a lot of the public areas, a lot of the archive exhibits as well. Wheelhouse, bridge, captain's quarters are also known to have a lot of types of activity, but pretty much anywhere you can be on board, you can have an experience.
Fascinating information. Please stand by, Nicole. You and I have to take a short break here. And Exonation, Nicole D. Strickland is our special guest. And if you'd like to visit her website, if you'd like to buy her books, I believe your books are on Amazon.com.
Yes.
Okay, great. And visit her wealth of information on her website at www.NicoleDStrickland.com. And we'll both be back as this hour continues, talking about the ghosts, the hauntings, things that go bump on the night on the ship that is moored now in Long Beach, California, RMS Queen Mary. Don't go away, we'll be back.
Well, East Coast girls are hip. I really dig those styles they wear. And the Southern girls with the way they talk, they knock me out when I'm down there. The Midwest far.
Welcome back, everyone. Nicole Strickland is our special guest this hour. We're talking about the RMS Queen Mary. It's really haunted, Exonation, and this young lady knows more about it than a lot of people that I know about. In fact, when it comes to the paranormal, this is the expert, in my opinion, on what goes on in the haunted RMS Queen Mary. Nicole, when you prepare to do a paranormal investigation on the Queen Mary, how long does it take you to prepare, and what equipment do you take with you?
That's a good question. I haven't actually done an official investigation in a while on board, but in the past, I've done little mini ones with people just in certain areas, or we'd focus on certain areas of the ship. For me, I know a lot about the history already, but it's similar to how you would prepare for any other investigation, right? You want to make sure that, everyone that's attending the investigation knows what the objectives are for that night. So again, depending on where we are, investigating. Certain equipment might be a little bit more recommended than others, but I'll just give, like, for example, the former first and third class pool.
Right.
Sometimes we would just focus on that. And so we'd, again, do a lot of the similar types of experimentation and methodologies, specifically audio, some spirit photography. We'd have video cameras running. We'd do vigils, things of that nature. With the Queen Mary, just because of the iron and everything, a lot of times in the lower decks, you're not going to be able to really do ITC or spirit box sort of a methodology, just because you're not going to have access to the radio waves. Obviously that makes sense. So I think for the Queen Mary, though, for me in the past, it's always been less is more. I've always tried to rely a little bit more on my intuition, just getting really familiar with that specific area of the ship, doing vigil work, having a sense of the energy on that specific day or night, and then going from there and doing some experimentation, EVP sessions, videography, some spirit photography, and then after that, it's just going into the evidence review and reviewing all of that and putting it all together.
Having done all these investigations, in your opinion, what is the most notable investigation experience on the Queen Mary that stands out for you?
For me
Yeah, for you.
personally,
Yep.
oh goodness, man, that's a really, you're talking just like an experience from an investigation per se.
Or not, maybe you weren't even there on an investigation, but there for another reason. What really, in your opinion, has been the most significant paranormal activity or encounter that you yourself have had on that ship?
There are so many, and it's so hard to narrow down because there have been so many. I will say that I've had a lot with Jackie, and a lot of people think that maybe she's not real, that maybe she's like a psychokinetic creation. I kind of thought that too at the beginning, just because of the scores of people going on board wanting to have experiences with her, and even some of the other energies, right? So there's that psychokinetic interplay. But I do think that she's real. I don't really know her origins, but I've had many amazing encounters with her. Uh, she likes to sing certain songs like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star,
Oh.
Ring Around the Rosie, so we would experiment with that. One of my favorite captures of all time actually occurred in the pool area, where I was singing the main verse of Ring Around the Rosie, but I left the word down out as an experiment to see if maybe someone ethereal would answer, and sure enough, that occurred. Again, I don't know if that was Jackie, but sightings of her, she almost looks like a Shirley Temple, that she could be a sister or cousin to Shirley Temple. The encounters on board the Queen Mary, where I've had both a personal encounter that was actually backed up by some sort of objective piece of data, like an EVP or a photograph. To me, those really stand out, and I've had many of those on board as well. So I don't know how much time we have. I can share one or a
Sure,
couple if
share
you
a
want.
couple. Yeah, that would be super.
So, well, even just I was there for a friend's birthday on Saturday, and we were actually there were two suites that were rented. So on the port side on M deck, so we have Queen Elizabeth suite, and then we had the Eisenhower suite, and we had the partition opened up in the middle to make it a large room. And right behind us in the blue chair, I was sitting next to my friend James. All of a sudden, the bedroom door opened up by itself. And so there, it wouldn't have been air or something like that, because the air current had been going, a long time. So that, things like that can happen. I actually had an experience once, and this is going back probably to 2008. I was in A167 on A deck, which is starboard, maybe a little bit more toward the aft side. And it was around 2 o'clock in the morning, and I came in, and again, I felt someone there with me. And then all of a sudden, as I sat down on my bed, I saw a grayish sort of misty form come through the door. it kind of morphed into like a humanoid shape. And then I had my recorder running and I said, I just saw someone enter through the door. Can you please tell me your name? And of course, when reviewing it, I didn't hear it live, but when reviewing it, I heard the name either Michael or Micah. So things like that, just when you can have a multitude of experiences that are backed up by recordings. Another example, we were in our deck forward where the old Titanic museum or exhibit used to be, and I was a guest on the paranormal ship walk led by my friend Tony Ashland. And we were in there, and all of a sudden, the whole entire tour heard a man whisper, "Get out." And so I recognized it, so did Tony, as perhaps the spirit of William Eric Stark. He's the one I mentioned earlier that sadly passed away from drinking tetrachloride, and he's known to be territorial like that and can say those words. So there's just so many stories. Oh my God, it's so hard to find one because there's so many.
The sighting of the young girl, when you
Hmm.
speak with different people who've actually seen her, do do the sightings match? Is she wearing the same clothing? Is her hair done the same way, or do they vary?
That's a good another really these are like fantastic questions. Yes, there are a lot of sightings that have been very similar.
Really?
So people have seen her in a blue dress, I've seen her in a blue dress, similar body shape, the style of hair, the bang, no bangs, but the hair kind of pull over to one side with a barrette. So yeah, there are similarities. And that's interesting about the Queen Mary because you can have, and not just with Jackie, with other sorts of reports, months to years apart, different people, and they will describe and report similar, eerily similar encounters. So that's what makes it, to me, one of the things that makes it really interesting.
Now, the steel that the hull is constructed of, where did that steel come from? And I'm asking this
Uh,
for a very special reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was built in Scotland.
Right.
So, and obviously there's different elements, even like the wood. So,
Hmm.
all of it, that's actually a question. All of it. I mean, she was built in Scotland, where I don't know if all of it came from a specific area or
Right.
whatnot, but for example, the woods,
Yeah.
a lot of the woods in the interior part of the ship, 56 different varieties from a lot of different areas in the world. So, and then of
Yeah.
course her Art Deco finding or Art Deco pieces and furniture and decorations as well. So
I was just trying to
that's,
try to see if there was a connection between where the steel came from and if there are any other ships that are still remaining in existence that have been made from the same metal, steel, in the same shipyard that could tie a correlation into why the Queen
yeah,
Mary is so active.
that's a fantastic point. John Brown and Company, that was probably obviously the most established shipyard in the world at the
Hmm.
time. The different iron and different elements that went into the building. I mean, there are some pieces of furniture, elements from other ships that actually went into the Queen Mary
Right.
as well. That could obviously play into that. So that's actually a good point. That's something that I would need to, specifically the iron. Are you just referencing
The hull, the steel,
yeah,
yeah,
all of it?
something
If
that could
actually,
maintain
yeah.
the magnetic integrity of the spirits.
Right, and that's actually something I should know, and I'm actually, unsure of whether, all of it came from one
Right.
source or right. So that's something that I need
Okay.
to research, but that's a good point.
Um, I've got about a minute and a half before I have to go to my next break. In your opinion, Nicole, what is the most misunderstood aspect of the paranormal?
Ooh, this is a good question. In a minute, right? I have a minute
Yeah, well, we can carry the answer over onto the other side of
over
this
the
break.
next.
Yeah.
The first thing that's coming to mind is that it's not all what the entertainment world and what the media portrays it out to be. It's not all,
Woo-woo.
it's not a woo-woo. It's not
Right.
overly negative and evil and this and that. It's not that at all. So, and we can expand on that after, but that's one of the things that comes out at me.
All right, Exo Nation,
So-
Nicole D. Strickland is our special guest. Her website is NicoleDStrickland.com. And she's the author of several books, including Field Guide to Southern California Hauntings, San Diego's Most Haunted, Spirits of Rancho Buena Vista Adobe, The Afterlife Chronicles, exploring the connection between life, death, and beyond, Women on the Fringe, groundbreaking women in the paranormal, and that was written with Marie D. Jones and Denise A. Agnew. The Haunted Queen of the Seas, the living legend of the RMS Queen Mary, Spirited Queen Mary, her haunted legend, and RMS Queen Mary voices from her voyages. All these books, Exo Nation, are available on Amazon.com. And like I was saying, her website is NicoleDStrickland.com. Don't forget that D in there. NicoleDStrickland.com. And Nicole and I will be back on the other side of this break as we finish off this hour of the X-Zone in our fourth segment from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and Talkstar Radio. See, Craig, you thought I forgot, but I didn't. The X-Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, especially if you're driving through Ontario, northern New York, northern Pennsylvania, and you have your radio tuned to 1220 AM because you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, and streaming us on classic1220.ca. Don't go away, we'll be back.
The best thing that I've seen in a while. California girl, California girl. There must be something magic in your smile. Now when I came to this California town.
Welcome back, everyone. Nicole D. Strickland is our special guest. Her website is www.NicoleDStrickland.com. First of all, Nicole, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing these wonderful stories with us.
Thank you.
And before we went to the break, I had asked you, in your opinion, what is the most misunderstood aspect of the paranormal? And you were saying the media, and I agree with you. The media, and of course, a lot of the paranormal TV shows do not actually reflect the true workings of a paranormal investigation, which lead people to think it is a woo-woo factor. But I know there's people like you out there, Lloyd Auerbach, and just to name a couple that are serious researchers who spend time and effort into trying to understand this phenomenon that still, with today's technology, with today's science, we still are just scratching the surface, if even that.
Exactly. And it's I'm very, I sometimes, am I too serious? I don't know. But for me, I feel like it's going too much down an entertainment route. And it needs to come back to academic. And there is a way, I think, to blend the two that give it the justice that it deserves, but we're not there yet. And so, even sometimes these, and I don't mean to I'm not trying to criticize, but these YouTube videos of people going into these haunted locations, making it out to be a horror show, that is not okay for me at all.
I agree with you 100%. 100%.
So, and I wanted to the answer. I am so embarrassed that I did not actually know the answer to that. I was thinking that a lot of it came from Scotland steel sources, but I looked it up. And so it mainly, the steel for the RMS Queen Mary came from Scunthorpe, England. So there were specific mines and locations within that region that was used in the production of that. So that's something that I, it's a new thing that I learned.
Sure.
And that's the one thing about the Queen Mary. You can go a lifetime and not know everything there is to know about that ship. So,
It would be very interesting to know what other ships, whether from whether it was from the same shipyard that built the RMS Queen Mary or any other shipyard in the United Kingdom where ships were made, if that steel was used in these other ships that was used in the RMS Queen Mary, and if they are as haunted as the Queen Mary is.
yeah, it's a good, I mean, it's a good point because there were different mines and different sources in that area where they actually utilized the steel work for the Queen Mary. But even like Ireland's, Titanic, the
Yeah.
Harland and Wolff, different shipyard, different builder, but still, and at one point, Cunard actually had to merge with the White Star Line during the Depression as a way to fund the rest of the building of the Queen Mary. So there was that merger that lasted until I believe October it was 1947. I want to say it was October or December 1947, but interesting.
Have you encountered skeptics regarding the existence of the paranormal on the
Oh
Queen
yeah.
Mary? How do you respond to them?
It's not, I'm not going to waste my energy. It's not my place to convince them. All I can do is just provide them my experiences and maybe some of my knowledge and leave it to them. But I think that there's, I think, a difference obviously between a cynic and a skeptic. I think all of us should be healthy skeptics, but there are some people that are completely cynical that don't believe any of that, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. uh, it's one of those things. It's kind of a precarious line to cross with that. So, yeah.
What do you think attracts so many people on a yearly basis to locations like the Queen Mary?
Well, I think a lot of it too is the history of those sites, especially if you're a history lover. I think that really attracts people. And then if the event itself has been in existence for a while, if it's family oriented, which the Queen Mary is, of course, if you're into the paranormal, that itself is going to attract you. But if places that have a lot of different events and different activities for people to do, I think that too can attract people.
You know what I love about people like yourself and the other incredible investigators and researchers that are out there doing the paranormal is that you're truly historians. You keep history alive.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And that's something in regards to the Queen Mary. I almost think she's a giant time capsule, almost where the past, present, and even maybe the future are kind of fused together. It is a way to keep the history alive. And I tell people her resident spirits are her guides. Pay attention to them. So,
Yeah. Tell me, Nicole, what has been the most rewarding aspect of your work with the Queen Mary and the paranormal community?
it's really given me a greater appreciation for history and the people that have come before us. The Queen Mary is an unprecedented ship. It's a humanitarian emissary. What that ship has done for humanity is something you can't put in words. And so to be able to give back in a way and to kind of be an ambassador for her, I'm one of many people, to help share her legendary historical narrative with people, to me is priceless. And so that for me is extremely rewarding.
In the news last week, President Trump is planning on recommissioning Alcatraz. Now,
I read that.
as we
Yeah.
all know, Alcatraz has been the home for paranormal investigation tours that are actually making money for the state and bringing another sense of history to those who may never have gone to Alcatraz because they're honest citizens. How does this strike you as a paranormal researcher and if you don't mind me saying, a paranormal historian.
Of actually reusing Alcatraz. I'm very ambivalent about it. I'm not so sure about it. It's such a historical site, and I think because of that and its history, it almost needs to be left alone, just as it is. I'm not so for it, to be honest. Yeah, and I've actually never done an investigation. I was invited to do an overnight at Alcatraz many years ago, and I couldn't go. And I get that. I get the, like the Queen Mary, the tours that helps to rekindle costs, and it's an economic benefit, but just reopening it as a prison, I don't know about that. I don't know.
I know a lot of people are scratching their heads with that one,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yep, absolutely.
in your opinion, what is the hardest part about being a paranormal investigator and researcher?
Oh, the heart. I mean, I love it. I have a passion for it. It's one of those, it can be very, if you put your mind to it and you do what you're supposed to in terms of putting the time and energy, it can be very tedious and very time consuming. So it's finding, the time to balance that with other things. But again, it correlates to what I was saying earlier. Just this over sensationalism about it is one of the thorns in my side. And I get that we have to have entertainment. I get it. But like I said earlier, I'd like it to go more an academic path.
I guess my final question for you tonight, my dear friend, is what message would you like to leave with our listeners about the RMS Queen Mary and the world of the paranormal?
RMS Queen Mary is the epitome of what a renowned historical site should be. Just layers upon layers of rich history, what that ship has done for humanity, bridging the old world with the new, reducing World War II by about a year, along with other ships, including her sister ship, Queen Elizabeth. So just a renowned historical site that deserves its respect and reverence, and it's getting that, in my opinion, now. So visit it. If you haven't gone, please come to Long Beach and visit it. Paranormal wise, I would say, and this is getting more into life after death, just know that, when you lose a loved one, that person may be physically gone, but the essence of that individual and the love, that's eternal, that remains forever.
During your time as a paranormal investigator over the years that you've done it, has your outlook on death changed?
On death itself, I would
Yes.
say yes, in terms of my dealing with it. It's not, obviously, it's not as daunting or difficult because I know what awaits us. I think I know, or have a grasp or a glimpse of what awaits us when it's our time to transition. So it's
Many,
given me more of an appreciation for it.
many people say that when we die, our spirit goes to the light. Those
Right.
spirits who do not go to the light remain. For example, like that. I would imagine this is what they consider the spirits that are seen and heard on the Queen Mary. Why is it some spirits stay and others go?
That's an interesting question. Again, I'm not sure if we're really permitted to know all the reasons why. You hear the word earthbound, and I'm one of these that likes to think that energies, whether they're a ghost or a spirit, aren't stuck somewhere. They can roam, they can move around. I think a lot of it is by choice. Some have a choice to stay here, maybe for whatever reason. Sadly, it could be that maybe they don't know they're gone, and there's that state of limbo, if that whole state. Just different reasons. I mean, there is a difference, in my opinion, between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is that, where it's an energy of a once living being like ourselves
Right.
that, for whatever reason, is here. A spirit almost has more free will to come and to maybe evolve higher to the ranks of spirithood and come back for free will. But you could have 10 or 100 different entities, and they may all have a different reason.
Well,
So I don't.
that leaves us a great topic for another show when you come back and visit us
Yeah.
again. Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole. Always a great pleasure. Continued success on the great work that you do. And
Thank you.
always know that the door here is open to you to come and share your knowledge and your wisdom with the X Zone Nation.
Oh, likewise. You're amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Nicole. X Zone Nation, that wraps up this first hour with our conversation with Nicole Strickland. We hope you enjoyed diving into the haunted history of the RMS Queen Mary and found her insights just as captivating as I did. Now, if you're curious to learn more about Nicole's work or explore her written pieces, be sure to visit her website, NicoleDStrickland.com. The next hour of the X Zone starts after this short break, and remember to always keep questioning the world around you and stay curious, X Zone Nation. I'll be back as we continue here in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and of course our good friends at Classic 1220 CFAJ AM here in St. Catharines, streaming us on classic1220.ca. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.